Hello. Today I'll be doing a lesson on factoring. When factoring, you first want to find all of the factors of a number. Factors are any number divisible by your original number. For example, the factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. We can make a chart of this, and this chart works such that 1 times 12 gives you 12, 2 times 6 gives you 12, and 3 times 4 gives you 12. You know you're done with your chart when you reach your next number. You're always going to go in ascending order, starting with 1. And so we go 1, 2, 3. Once we hit the other side of the chart, which is 4, we know we're done. So now you try. Make a chart that shows all of the factors of 120. Your factors of 120, I'll make the chart over here so you can see it a little better. Of course, we have 1 and 120. 2 times 60 gives us 120. 3 times 40 gives us 120. 4 times 30 is 120. 5 times 24 is 120. 6 times 20 is 120. 7 is not divisible by 120, so 7 is not a factor. But we do have 8. 8 times 15. 9 is also not a factor, but 10 is. We have 10 times 12. You notice we have 10 and 12. We're almost, the only number left is 11, and 11 is not divisible by 120, so we're done with our chart. These are all of the factors of 120. When you factor a polynomial, it usually is in the form of a x squared plus bx plus c. When a equals 1, most of the time we'll be dealing with a equal to 1, especially in this lesson, but eventually we will get to a greater than 1. But for now, when a equals 1, you get the b term, which is this middle term, you get the b term from adding the factors of your c term. So you're going to factor your c term and pick two factors that when added together give you your b term. That's what we're trying to do here. So for example, if we were going to do x squared plus 5x plus 6, we first would need to factor 6. So we have 6. The factors of 6 are 1 and 6, 2 and 3. And you see I've gotten to the end of my chart because I've reached the next number, which is 3. So these are all the factors of 6. Now I want factors of 6 that when added together give me 5. If I do 1 plus 6, I get 7. That's not 5. If I do 2 plus 3, I do get 5. So 5 is the one I want to use. Or 2 and 3 are the factors I want to use. So now that I know my factors are 2 and 3, I'm going to write them like this. I have x plus 2 is one, and x plus 3 is the other one. Those are my factors of x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now, you always want to check to make sure that you've gotten right factors. And you check this by multiplying them back out. So I'm going to rewrite it so we can check our multiplication. Okay? So first, we're going to do x times x and get x squared. Then we're going to do x times 3 and get 3x, followed by 2 times x gives me 2x, and finally 2 times 3 gives me 6. Now don't forget you want to combine all your like terms, so I'm going to combine my like terms here, and I'm left with x squared plus 5x plus 6. And this does match our original equation, so we know that our factors are correct. So this is my final answer here. My two factors are x plus 2 and x plus 3. Okay, we just always want to check them. So the goal when factoring is to find two factors of your C term that add up to your B term. We just did that. But remember, you can also have negative factors. So if your C term is negative, that means one of your factors is also going to be negative. So for example, we have x squared plus 2x minus 8. So first, we want to find our factors of 8. So 8, we have 1 and 8. Then we have 2 and 4, and the only number left to check is 3, and 3 is not divisible by 8. Or 8 is not divisible by 3, so 3 is not 1, so we're done with our factors. But one of these has to be negative because my 8 here is negative. So in order for me to get 2 here, I have to get 2 with one of these factors being negative. Well, if I have negative 8 plus 1, that gives me negative 7. That's not 2. If I have negative 1 plus 8, that gives me positive 7. So we know we're not using 1 and 8. So let's try it with 2 and 4. If I do negative 4 plus 2, I get negative 2. I don't want negative 2. I want positive 2. So let's try negative 2 plus 4. That does give me positive 2. So the factors I'll be using are negative 2 and positive 4. And the way I'm going to write this is x minus 2, x plus 4. Those are the factors I got. But remember, we always want to check them. So in order to check them, we're going to multiply it back out. So I'll do it over here to multiply. We have x minus 2 and x plus 4. X times x gives me x squared. X times 4 gives me 4x. Negative 2 times x, remember that negative is there. Negative 2 times x gives me negative 2x. And negative 2 times 4 gives me negative 8. Once I combine my like terms, I get x squared plus 2x minus 8. And we can see that this does indeed match our original equation. So therefore, these factors that we got are correct. Okay? Always check your answer. So now you try one. Factor x squared minus 2x minus 15. Right? First, we want to get the factors of 15. We do that, we have 1 and 15. 2 does not go into 15, so we don't write 2, but 3 does. We have 3 times 5 gives us 15, and 4 is the only number left to check, and 4 does not go into 15. Now we also realize that this 15 is negative, so one of these factors that we use has to be negative. So if we were looking for a negative 2, if I do 15 and negative 1, that won't give me negative 2, and if I do negative 1 and 15, that will not give me negative 2. So I know I'm using 3 and 5. I just have to figure out which one is negative. So I can do negative 3 plus 5. When I do that, I get positive 2. We don't want positive 2, we want negative 2. So I can try negative 5 plus 3, and I do get the negative 2. So I know I'm using these factors of negative 5 and 3. I'm going to write this as x minus 5, x plus 3. Those are my factors. Again, I want to check them just to make sure I did it correctly. So I have x minus 5 times x plus 3. X times x gives me x squared. X times 3 gives me 3x. Negative 5 times x gives me negative 5x. And negative 5 times 3 gives me negative 15. I'm going to combine my like terms. X squared minus 2x minus 15. And this is indeed my original. So my factors that I got are correct. Right? You try this one as well. So I want the factors of 24. My factors of 24 are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, and my only number left to check is 5, and 5 doesn't go into 24. So these are all the factors of 24. I want factors, one of them is going to be negative, remember, because we have a negative 24. I want factors that with one of them being negative, I will get a positive 5. So if I do negative 24 and 1, or negative 1 and 24, I will not get 5. So I know I'm not using that one. With 12, I could have negative 12 and 2. That won't give me 5. And negative 2 and 12, that also will not give me 5. 8 and 3, I can get 5 from 8 and 3, so that could be a possibility. 6 and 4, if I do negative 6 and 4, that won't give me 5. And negative 4 and 6, that won't give me 5. So I know I'm using 8 and 3. I just have to figure out which one is negative. So I can have negative 3 plus 8, and that one does give me 5. But just to check, I can also have negative 8 plus 3, and that gives me negative 5. So I know I'm using these two. I'm using negative 3 and 8. So I will write my factors as x minus 3 and x plus 8. I do want to check these to make sure they're correct. So x minus 3, x plus 8. X times x gives me x squared. X times 8 gives me 8x. Negative 3 times x gives me negative 3x. And negative 3 times 8 gives me negative 24. I want to combine like terms here in the middle. I get x squared plus 5x minus 24. This does match my original equation, so my factors that I got are correct. Make sure you always check your work to make sure you got the correct factors.